Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co, and this is News and Week in Review, although we will be a little light on the news this week. In fact, we're going to skip the topic of the week altogether, and instead I'm going to focus on talking about all the games I played at Gen Con, with a very quick recap of each. Alex from the future here with a little note that I forgot to announce that there was a giveaway this past week. I did a video on Foreteller like a little bit over a week ago, and in that there was a giveaway for Chronicles of Drunagar. And so, the winner of that is... Helen Cam. Helen Cam, you won with a comment the comment was Foreteller please, if I recall correctly. So Helen Cam, please reach out to me at alex@boardgameco.com, and in fact, Foreteller themselves commented on the video that they're throwing in the narration for Foreteller of Chronicles of Drunagar, so you get that coming your way as well. But reach out to me at alex@boardgameco.com. Any comments at all that tell you to spend money to whatever, I don't know, any comments that ask for money, that is not, don't do that. Only any and all communication regarding your prize, anything other than a congratulations, should be done via alex@boardgameco.com. Otherwise, it's someone trying to scam you out of money, so please ignore those comments. And with that, you get to go back to your regularly scheduled programming right about now. But let's go ahead and talk about this. This is News and Week in Review. We'll have links to everything down below. And let's start off with something. Some of these are a little bit from prior weeks, I guess, but just, Gen Con happened and things have been busy. But first of all, we have Robin Hood, Sheriff of Nottingham. This is coming to you from Come On and Spin Master Games, taking the Robin Hood, like Robin Hood and Little John walking through the forest. Oodle-lolly, golly, what a day. That movie, that's a great movie. It's one of the best Disney movies, actually. But either way, Robin Hood, Sheriff of Nottingham, they're making the Sheriff of Nottingham game out of the Robin Hood IP, which I'm both excited for and also not. They've done some tweaks and balances to the game, so some things to make the game a little bit more balanced from, years of player feedback, which is great. They've slapped on the Robin Hood IP, which is amazing, especially if, like me, you like that. But then I've also heard some complaints that the component quality is a little lower, to lower that MSRP for people, so that people who want the game and aren't used to spending $50 on a board game can actually go ahead and get it. So very happy that it exists. I might pick it up at some point, but the component quality, that's a big one for me. We'll see. I do have incredibly cool deluxeified coins, so maybe I can up my own copy. We'll see. I'll give it some time. But Robin Hood, Sheriff of Nottingham, from Come On and Spin Master. Then we have Post Malone, a little bit of a side thing. I bet you didn't expect to hear Post Malone on this week in review, but he bought the Magic the Gathering's One Ring card, which has been valued at around $2 million. That single one ring. I don't understand exactly how economies work and how people buy things and what they value, but kudos to him. By all means, go ahead, enjoy yourself, live the life you want to live, and he now has the One Ring, which I guess is there's only one of them, so that is pretty cool. Although I do think Magic should put out more rings in, future sets. They should have, the 9 rings of men, the 7 rings of the elves, and the 5 rings of the dwarfs. Was that the right? I think that was 9, 7, and 5. I am not a Lord of the Rings buff. I like the universe. I'm just not a buff, so maybe I'm wrong on those details. But either way, from there, we have a miniature market ad. No, this is a Ravensburger. Ravensburger, oh, they don't even have a thing here. That's unfortunate. I thought I had an image here. Horrified Greek monsters from Ravensburger. That's going to be coming out. They announced the 3rd version of Horrified. They have Horrified, they have American monsters, and now they have Greek monsters coming. So more Horrified, if that's something you're interested in, coming from Ravensburger. Not the most exciting thing currently coming from Ravensburger, but definitely something. And then we have Dune Imperium Uprising, which has people incredibly excited and also people who are losing their minds. This is a standalone game in the Dune Imperium universe. It's standalone. It is compatible with the expansions, which means you can completely avoid this and you don't need it. Also, you can go ahead and get it and you'll have another standalone game in the Dune Imperium universe. There are changes to the cards, the boards. There are a bunch of changes here, so this is something that your current copy of Dune Imperium is still doing incredibly well. It's still very, very happy. People like it a lot, but you also might be slightly frustrated that there's a new standalone game making you feel like your copy is not as good. Time will tell. We'll see if this becomes a, is this effectively Ticket to Ride and Ticket to Ride Europe, or is this, Through the Ages, 4th edition versus Through the Ages 3rd edition. Or I guess Through the Ages, what's called? It's called, what's the new Through the Ages called? Why is it called? Oh my dear Lord, it's called, they gave a new name to Through the Ages when they finally redid it. But they had 3 editions, then they redid it. Either way, sometimes the games replace other games, other times they are other standalone games. So again, is this Arcadia Quest and Arcadia Quest Inferno, or is this Twilight Imperium 4th edition and Twilight Imperium 3rd edition? That's the question, which is yet to be resolved. But either way, in case you're wondering, Dune Imperium Uprising from Direwolf Digital. Then from there, I think that's everything we have for the news. There's a lot more news. Gen Con had a ton of things, but unfortunately I've only just got them back and I'm playing catch up with a million different things, so I have not had time to consolidate all the various news things because there are a lot of news things out there. Just, tons of stuff. Renegade dropped bomb after bomb of, various pieces of news. The problem is I don't remember offhand which ones I'm able to talk about, which ones I'm not. There's a whole Renegade press event, and so I know a lot of things, and some of those things I've talked about, so I can talk about. There's Renegade stuff. There's lots of stuff coming from Renegade. Anyways, we're going to have that for the news, and we're going to go from there to talking about the games I played. The games I played is a segment where I do every week where I pick 3 or 4 games that I've played this past week. And this week, I'm partially replacing the other news I don't have, partially replacing the topic of the week, and partially replacing the games I played with a Gen Con recap. Now, some of this is stuff that I've talked about this past week in the live Gen Con video that I did with Devin, Meg, and Jenna from the Board Game Garden. We did a recap of Gen Con, but I'm going to go into all of these, a sentence or 2 per game. I'm lying, probably like a paragraph per game, but starting with Lorcana. I did a full first impressions of Lorcana on my channel already, but Lorcana I am intrigued by. I'm intrigued and currently motivated to try to pick up more Lorcana and see where the game takes me. Just this morning, my son was browsing through every single Lorcana card on the app. Like, he's 4 and he wants all the cards, which I guess is like a bad thing, but also a good thing. It's an opportunity to bond, and so I like what Lorcana's doing. I'm not yet 100% sold, but I am currently intrigued. The tricky part is these games are lifestyle games. Will I be able to keep up with 4 sets a year of Lorcana? Am I financially willing to keep up with 4 sets a year of Lorcana? I just don't know the answer. And so that's where, right now, I am intrigued by Lorcana, but not yet fully committed, just still in the intrigued phase. From there, we have Western Legends Showdown. This is a small 2-player version of not really Western Legends. It's Western Legends as an IP, but primarily it's a game of, it's one of those games that has like lanes you're fighting over. You're trying to capture cards by playing them down to different arenas of combat, and they each have different rules as far as how you capture things. And it's all about knowing your cards, knowing your opponent's cards, and trying to outthink and outplay your opponent. I got absolutely stomped by this, which is a good indicator that it's a game that there is a degree of skill to it and not pure randomness, because I got stomped hard. But either way, Western Legends Showdown, I was intrigued by this one, not completely sold on it. I did enjoy it, but I don't think it's going to hold up to games like Hanamakoji for me, and so I think it's going to be one of those games that I enjoy. I'm going to be playing it a few more times, expect to see review content on my channel, but then I'll probably be moving on from it. We have Monarch over here. This is actually nothing to do with Monarch. This is just the problem is the game that I want to talk about doesn't currently exist from what I can see. It doesn't have an English name. It currently has a French name, which I don't know what it is, but it roughly translates to the Rogue Monarch. That may or may not be the final game. I believe it's coming from Matago. It might not be. It might be coming from a different company, so I'm not entirely sure. But this is a 16-card game that I really enjoyed. 16 cards, or was it 12? Was it 3 of each card? Maybe it's 12. It might be a 12-card game in which there are 4 different cards and 3 of each card, and there's 4 ways to win, or 3 ways to win if I recall. And it's a tension game of you have cards in the middle and you have cards in your hand, and you're trying to achieve a win condition, and it's all about trying to set yourself up for the win condition while not setting your opponent up for the win condition. It was brilliant. I also got stomped in this one, make no mistake, but I loved what it was doing, and I'm very excited to dive into this one. It's going to be a small little wallet game, effectively, just a handful of cards. But I really, really liked it, and I'm excited for it to launch. I believe it's launching at Essen, and unfortunately you can't hear more about it because I don't even know if I have the name for you, but I will be talking about it more in the future, so we'll talk about it more in the future. Then from there, we have over here, we have Orion Duel. Another one I had a chance to play. Orion Duel, it's never even heard of it, it wasn't on my radar at all. Sat down to play this 2-player abstract strategy game, and I really enjoyed it. In Orion Duel, you effectively have 3 ways to win. Again, well, you have 2 ways to win and 1 way to lose. You can win by either connecting 2 sides of the board with your color, you can win by connecting 4 planets to your color, 4 solar systems, or you can lose by having 3 black holes connected to your color. And so that tension as you place pieces, because both sides have pieces of your own and your opponent's color, more dominantly your color, and so you're constantly placing things down, trying to effectively set yourself up to double trap your opponent so that they cannot stop you from winning. I thought it was incredibly well done. Again, I lost this one. Thought I was going to win it. I was so close. Both this and the Rogue Monarch, I thought I was going to win, but then, people who have played these games before knew what they were doing and danced around me in these. But I really enjoyed Orion Duel. Expect coverage on that one coming soon. Then we have over here, we have Dixit Disney. Dixit Disney, had a chance to finally play this one. I was excited for this one. I was hoping to pick this one up at Origins, at Gen Con, I mean, and I did indeed pick this one up. But Dixit Disney, It has the art of Dixit. In fact, there's already not first impressions, there's already a review on my channel. It's the same gameplay as Dixit, just with new art. I've already played it a few times, got into it, and the only thing I really have to comment on is the new art. I've also never really reviewed Dixit on my channel, so it's an opportunity to do that. So I have a full review of it, but it's Dixit with Disney art. I think it does a good job, not necessarily an amazing job, it's Dixit with Disney art. There's not a ton more to say there. Then we have, speaking of Dixit, the same artist, I believe it's the same artist from Dixit, are being used for Altered TCG, or maybe it's Altered CCG. One of those two. What is the difference between a TCG and a CCG? Is there an actual difference? I'm not entirely sure. But either way, Altered is a new TCG coming out from the original creative team behind Libelud, behind Dixit. But they're not the same company now, but the original creative team behind it, or the original owners or whatnot, I believe using the same art. But this game has actually strong similarities to Star Wars Unlimited, which I have not played, but I've heard from people who've played both that they are very surprisingly similar for two separate TCG games. Or CCG games. But in Altered, you take on control of a character and their imaginative pet, effectively, because you're mixing the world of the real and the imagined in this game. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to move along these paths using different icons on your cards, and you're building your deck in a way that hopefully tries to keep your cards in motion. Your cards are played, then they retreat to your memory. You can play them again, or you can lose them to discard, and you're trying to balance the abilities in these cards and the way you play cards from your hand or from your memory. The gameplay was fairly simple to dive into, but felt fairly rewarding as you go through it. I'm intrigued by this one. It is not launching yet. This was more of they were showcasing it at Gen Con for the first time, and I was definitely intrigued by it. The tricky part, they have a lot of cool things coming from what they're doing in terms of, they have a lot of cool things coming. They're doing a lot of digital implementations. All the cards have a QR code. You can kind of see that on the screen over here. So I am definitely intrigued. But intrigued is where I'm at right now. My biggest issue is I'm just not going to have the budget for multiple TCGs. I'm not sure if I have the budget for one TCG. So Lorcana currently is going to be dominant just because of the generational appeal of it. But time will tell on these game systems. Then we have over here, we have Blob Party. I actually played this already at Level Up Retreat for the first time. But Blob Party is one coming to you from WizKids that is... It's just such a fun time. I played this game a few times at Gen Con, having the opportunity to dive into like little mini sessions of it. But Blob Party has players effectively trying to become a singular blob. I've talked about this before in the week in review, so I'm not going to focus on it heavily. But generally, you're going to have a category. All the players answer the question, and those that gave the same answers become a blob. And that way, you have these. If you start with 8 players, maybe after round 1, you actually have 2 mini blobs and 5 distinct players, or 4 distinct players. I guess the math would have to work out. And then after round 2, maybe a blob combined with another person, so you have a blob of 3, a blob of 2, and then 3 separate players. As you answer these questions across 7 rounds of play, the goal is to become a single cohesive unit, answering questions exactly, being on the same page. It has incredibly fun moments. It's like, just recently when I played it at Gen Con, there was one particular question, it was a furry animal, something like that. Okay, furry animal was the category. And within the context of furry animal, I picked panda, and so did somebody else at the table. Panda's not what I think of when I think of furry animal, to take it back. Panda is what I think of when I think of furry animal, but it's not actually a furry animal, so... Or is it fuzzy animal? It might have been fuzzy animal. Either way, it was like a moment where we both were wrong, but also right. It was very fun. I like Blob Party. I have nothing but good things to say about it so far. We have Critter Kitchen. Had a chance to sit down and play Critter Kitchen from Carbon Alchemy Games. This had the rules weight of Flamecraft, with the additional degree of mental strategy weight, just because it was a good game of trying to hidden bid. Effectively, you're bidding on different zones to a degree. Not really bidding, but trying to race to different zones, trying to predict who else is going to go to different zones to gather different ingredients, because you have 3 different critters that go at different speeds but get more goods. And so you're trying to outthink your opponents while you try to fulfill certain challenges and ultimately the primary critic at the end of the game. It's still a game on the lighter side, but it's just, I thought it gave you an additional strategic level of bite that wasn't present in Flamecraft for me. So beautiful art, beautiful production. Excited about this one. This is Critter Kitchen from Flamecraft, from Carbon Alchemy. Then we have over here, we have this one over here. This is going to be the Manifest Destiny, coming to you from Off the Page Games. Manifest Destiny, they're the ones who've done Mind Management, followed by Harrow County, and now all of them based on comic book series. Manifest Destiny is going to have you wandering around the board in a cooperative game as you try to accomplish challenges while having a degree of deduction because of the rules present for a board. Each board has certain rules in play as how they operate. So maybe there's wood in each column or row once, but not twice. So if you find the wood, you now know there's no more wood in that column or row. Maybe there's certain patterns of, wood's always next to water. And so you're trying to figure out how to accomplish your goals, how to accomplish them. Similar to Critter Kitchen, there's a degree of both the final goal and then day-by-day goals you have to be mindful of. of, and so you're trying to stay alive, accomplish these goals, while using these deductive knowledge that you have present to try to make sure you get what you need as you go through the experience. I thought it was really well done. I'm very excited for this one. I mean, I definitely like it more than Hero County. I don't think I like it more than Mind Management. I think Mind Management is so ridiculously good, but I do think Manifest Destiny is going to be a very strong game for me. As you can see, it won from Gaming Trends, won one of the Best of Gen Con awards. Best of Gen Con from Gaming Trends, they have like 20 of them. They don't give out one, they give out around 20. So I'm just saying that because if you're like, I thought that game won Best of Gen Con, multiple games can win Best of Gen Con, each for different categories, in case you see this on a few different games. But that said, and that keep in mind, that's like 20 awards from like the 500 games or so that are shown at Gen Con. Then we have Floodgate Games. They did not, the game over here on the screen is Kites, but that's not the game I'm talking about. The game I want to talk about was either called Fireworks or Sparkworks. I can't remember 100% what it was called, but either way, the game was effectively Kites. That's why I'm showing you Kites. It was Kites, but with the challenges mixed in. So think of how the crew has these degree of iterative challenges you have. What I really liked about Kites is a game that has you flipping timers while trying to keep the timers, trying to keep the kites in the air. It's a clever little puzzle that I played it a long time ago. I've played it multiple times by now, but first time I played this game, I was like, this is fun. I don't need to own this game. It's a fun little game to play. Since then, whenever someone has a copy, I'll play it. It's a fun little table game that you can play. I've played Kites maybe like 6 or 7 times by now for a game that I was like, I don't need to play again. It has that kind of, oh sure, let's play Kites appeal to it. But what it's missing for me, and the reason it hasn't been in my collection, is because it's not a game I'm going to pull out. It's a game I'll peripherally see and happen to play. But Sparkworks, or Fireworks, whatever it's called, I don't know, the new version of the game that will be coming out, it's not available to buy yet, but effectively it gives you challenges. So now you have the gameplay of Kites, but with a degree of challenges that you're going through, which to me really enhances the gameplay, because now I want to go through those like 50 challenges. I want to be a complete challenge 1, then 2, then 3. I like the degree of progression where I can be like, no, I want to try the next challenge and the next challenge. I like the gameplay combined with that, so I was very excited about that one. Definitely enjoyed that and looking forward to that. We have Ticket to Ride Legacy. Ticket to Ride Legacy, very much enjoyed Ticket to Ride Legacy, there's no but. Ticket to Ride Legacy, I very much enjoyed Ticket to Ride Legacy. I got to play the first scenario. I hope to have full coverage on this at some point. I need to dive into it properly, but I thought it was a lot of fun. My one critique, which I mentioned in the weekly live, is there are things that are revealed as events that will effectively reward players for things they could never have known they should have done, which effectively means it comes down to kind of a random luck of the draw. It's like, hey, I know you're playing to get the most points, but that player just got 10 points for just doing something. Did we tell you to do it? No. Were you supposed to know? Not really, but they did the thing. So you do get these random point rewards for things that you couldn't have predicted, which to me does not take away from my enjoyment of the game, not in the slightest. I thought Ticket to Ride Legacy was excellent, but it's more of a warning for you that if you care about something like that, that was present at least in the first scenario. We'll see how it plays out over multiple scenarios. Then we have over here, we have Dante. I got a chance to play Dante, The Invasion of Hell from Creative Game Studios. I really enjoyed what I got to play. Granted, it's only like a 45-minute demo or so, so not a ton of experience in the game, but the comparison I keep giving is it felt like Massive Darkness, it felt like what Massive Darkness is to dungeon crawlers, Dante felt like it was to boss hunting experiences, which is to say, rolling dice, powers and abilities, having a good time, accessible and strategic. I overall very much enjoyed Dante from what I got to see. I need to dive into it more. In general, these first impressions are just that, first impressions. There are times it's gotten me into trouble with creators in the past and in general with publishers, where sometimes I play a game and I'm like, that was really fun, and then before I review it, I play it more times, and then sometimes I put out a review and I'm like, it was good. I had a really good first play, but then it was kind of downhill from there. And the problem is, like, especially when you're talking to a publisher or even a designer, which can be worse, sometimes they thought after that first play, because I was excited, they thought that they're getting like really positive coverage. Sometimes the first play is really exciting, and that stays true. In fact, let's go back to last year. Last year, Gen Con, I played, this is random tangent time, last year, Gen Con, I played Acropolis and Hoplomachus Victorium. Those are my two highlights of Gen Con. Acropolis is still there for me. I'm in the middle of a game of it right now, of BGA. Really enjoying Acropolis. I played it easily 20 plus times this year. And then we have Hoplomachus Victorium, which I guess partially defeats my point, because I've played that arguably more than 20 times. But Hoplomachus Victorium has gone down for me because it feels a bit grindy as you play it more and more. So that first impression high, I would have put Victorium over Acropolis, but as time went on, Acropolis stayed steady and Victorium went down a bit. Still enjoy it, still think it's great, but in the world of chip theory games where there's so many other games are greater, Victorium's gone down for me. I am intrigued by the expansions coming out, because they know that's a common player complaint and they are trying to address that, so I'm still holding out hope for it. Point is that first impressions do not equal a final review. If you ever see me excited about a game after a first play and then down the road you're like, but you love that game, That's the first impressions. If reviews can also change. That's the reality of the situation. A review, if I play a game 4 times and review it, and then I keep playing and my opinion changes, that's why I do recaps of reviews down the road. But reviews at least have several plays under my belt to at least have more of a certainty that it won't change. Not a certainty, but more of a certainty. Anyways, tangent there. Point is, I really like Dante, but I also don't want you to get too excited until I give you a proper review of it. And even my review might be a first impressions. The nature of the game, I don't know how much content I'm getting for it, so it may still be forced to be a first impressions due to limited access to content, because prototype. We'll see. Anyways, that was the second last one. I should have saved all this for the last one. The last one we have over here is Sky Team. Sky Team from Scorpion Mask from Shot Games. I really enjoyed this one based on the first scenario. This is a modular game. I played the first scenario twice so far, and I want to play the modular aspect of the game more. The modular aspect gives you different airports to play with, different rules and modules you throw into the game, but effectively it's a cooperative game for 2 players in which you're trying to work on landing a plane by rolling dice assigned to different areas and trying to be on the same page as how you can effectively, work together and land your plane. I want to play the modules because that will determine whether it's a game that's like, that was cute and fun and I enjoyed it, versus that's cute and fun and I really enjoy it. Those are differences. Right now, Sky Team is in the category of, that's cool, that was fun. I don't see it holding up if it was just that base aspect, but it's not just the base aspect, so time will tell. And those are the games I played at Gen Con. That's a recap of everything I played at Gen Con, or I should rephrase that, everything that was more of a new Gen Con release. There were like other games I played in the background, but I'm not going to tell you about some, 3-year-old game that I happen to have played, because, well, that's not the point of the Gen Con preview over here, but that is what I had a chance to dive into. There were a lot of other games I saw, lots of games I picked up, but I had a chance to play a decent amount of games while at Gen Con and get a good idea of what the show has to offer. And with that, let's go ahead and dive into the week in review. The week in review, starting off with this past Saturday. This past Saturday, I did a review for Ancient Realms, River Wild, and Wildtails in a roundup Button Shy trio of 3 reviews. I love Ancient Realms, very excited about that one. It's one of my new favorite Button Shy games. Past Numpsters was like the last one, and before that, I don't know, Skulls, I don't even know before that, Rove maybe. Button Shy puts out games on a regular basis. Some of them excite me, some of them don't. Ancient Realms excited me. River Wild, on the other hand, did not excite me. Good game, but didn't excite me. And Wildtails, I felt not only did it not excite me, but it was one of the harder Button Shy games for me to actually table and play. There's like, here's a rule book, and then here's a QR code for a campaign book, and jumping back and forth between tiny print with 18 cards that are doing multi-use, it was a little difficult to dive into, but even once I did, I didn't feel the experience was worth the mental effort. It's a legacy game from Button Shy. I think it's very cool. I think if you want to try it out, by all means do so, but Wildtails did disappoint me overall. Then later on Saturday, we had a gameplay of Expeditions. I'm doing more gameplays on the channel, which is a problem because I'm also doing more reviews on the channel, so I don't even know where. At this point, the biggest issue is I don't know where to put the videos. We'll figure it out. But we had a 3-player gameplay of Expeditions, and the reason for that is because I like Expeditions. My friends like Expeditions. We wanted to play Expeditions, and I hadn't done a gameplay of this game, and it is popular enough that I was like, why not? Let's throw a gameplay on the channel and just have a good excuse to play the game. You can check that out if you want to see a gameplay of Expeditions. Then on Sunday we had second editions, a conversation around second editions and reprints. I've done this conversation before several times in that video. I linked to the prior videos that I've done it. It's just a regular ongoing conversation, and it was more timely than ever because I filmed that before even knowing about Dune Uprising, and it's very, very relevant to that conversation. It's a conversation around the nature of trying to improve a board game, but you're darned if you do and you're darned if you don't. Publishers who lean into their game and constantly improve it and work on it. Publishers such as Machina Arcana, publishers such as Dragori Games with Tenaris Adventures. There are some people who continuously put effort and energy into improving their game, but that does mean that you are constantly dealing with an expired product to a degree, but they're constantly improving it for the next generation or for you with upgrade kits. And it's a conversation around just how to balance that, because we should want things improved upon, but we shouldn't want things constantly expired. And so another conversation worth checking out. Also deals with why I think crowdfunding, why board games is more of a frustrating area to deal with that kind of process compared to, having phones out every year or having a new Call of Duty every year. I think board games are a little bit more frustrating, and I go into why. On Monday I had 25 late pledges. This is a video series that I do on a somewhat infrequent but recurring basis. Sometimes it's like 4 months in between them, sometimes it's a month in between them, but 25 late pledges to dive into if you are interested in any games you may have missed out on. I generally pick games that have some degree of popularity to them, so I'm not covering all crowdfunding, and I do right now, I'm doing it in a way where I can pick games from BackerKit, from GameFound, basically someone that has a place to show you the late pledges. Companies that don't show you the late pledges, you have to track down links. I'm not doing as much of those anymore. It's just too hard to keep up with it, unfortunately. So I am prioritizing, and disclaimer, I do work for GameFound, take that into account, but right now I am prioritizing places that show you late pledges to browse through. It just makes my life much easier when doing these videos. Then on Tuesday I had a review for Mistwind, gave it a 4 out of 5. I really enjoyed Mistwind. I thought it was an excellent pick up and deliver experience that like my group played it and we wanted to play it again right after. It was very satisfying. It's just an overall satisfying game. That campaign is currently live on Kickstarter. Later on Tuesday I did a paid gameplay, a paid playthrough of Farms Race together with AP and Meg, diving into Farms Race, which is a kind of Catan meets Animal Farm kind of game. It's light, it's fun, it's charming. It's not my go-to game that I would like pick out. I'm not going to add that game to my collection, but I genuinely had a good time playing it. The degree of nuclear standoff that the game kind of incentivizes is fun. It's a fun experience, but not a game I'm going to be adding to my collection. And in general, by the way, commentary on paid playthroughs or paid coverage will be case by case. If you ever ask me my opinion on a game, whether it's paid or not, I will, well, I'm not going to generally give an opinion in a paid video, but I'm not reviewing paid. Tangent again. If I do a paid playthrough, you don't expect a review of that from me. Maybe separate. I don't know. Something I'm constantly figuring out, but I don't like hiding my opinion. So if you ever ask me a question, I will generally try to answer it. Generally, I don't know. I'm going to generally try to answer questions. I don't ever want to hide things, but in a video that's a paid playthrough, I'm not going to be like, hey, I didn't enjoy this. But then later, if you ask me, I'll tell you whether I did or didn't. In the case of Farms Race, again, I enjoyed it, but not one I would add to my collection. Then on Tuesday, the last thing we had was the first impressions of Lorcana. Lorcana gave it first impressions. Short version of it is I like Lorcana. I am not yet 100% sold. And it's going to cost a lot of money, so like it's going to like I might be into it until I'm done paying for the first set, and then being like, you know what, I just can't afford this, so I'm not going to do it. I don't know. Time will tell on Lorcana. We shall see. TCGs can be expensive, can be a money pit, so we'll see what happens there. On Wednesday we had a gameplay of The Witcher. Speaking of gameplays of games that I want to enjoy, The Witcher gameplay in general with my friends. We're going to be diving into more gameplays. These are unpaid, unless they tag it as paid. It is not paid. This is an unpaid gameplay from The Witcher. I'll be diving into more versions of The Witcher. Got some rules things wrong, some small things. In general, there will always be rules mistakes in the videos I do, in the gameplays. It's just we don't check things as we play. Our goal is to just have a good time. And normally where we would double check something, we just don't. It's easier to miss stuff. But either way, a gameplay of The Witcher Old World, and we'll have more of those coming to the channel. Later on Wednesday, we had a live Gen Con recap. This was together with Meg, Devin, and Jenna from the Board Game Garden, going over our experiences. People were tired in that video. The energy levels were a bit down, so not our usual vibing selves, but if you just want a bit of a showcase or a conversation around Gen Con and our experiences there, that's a small conversation there. Later on Wednesday, we had an unboxing for Arkeis. Arkeis, my oldest outstanding Kickstarter was Arkeis. Finally delivered, finally arrived. The problem is it arrived just alongside 50 games from Gen Con, so I don't know when I'm diving into things. The Gen Con stuff I've already heavily started to get into. By now I've played around 20 or so of the games I've gotten back from Gen Con. I try to move as fast as possible, and we'll see what happens. Reviews are slowly coming out bit by bit. Over the next several weeks, there will be a few more reviews per week so I can catch up on the Gencon Haul. Practically speaking, if I did 2 extra reviews per week, it would still take 25 weeks to catch up on the 50 games I just got, so I'm going to try to do what I can do. There will be a few more reviews as I try to stay on top of things. And maybe I'll just take on fewer games. I don't know. I don't know what will happen. We'll see. Either way. And reviews, gameplays, whatever, there'll be things going on. Then on Wednesday, that was Wednesday. Then on Thursday we had a Gen Con Haul video. Speaking of the Gen Con games, Thursday I went over the various games that came back from Gen Con together with Professor Meg and myself, just going over the games we got collectively for Board Game Co. And then a few games she got separately for herself, but just going over all the things, brief, quick notes on each. This is also your chance to say, hey, I'd love to see coverage on this or that. If there's specific things you want to see coverage on sooner rather than later, it helps me prioritize where I spend my time, because right now I want to spend my time on all of them. So if you tell me what you want, it does help prioritize it. Then on Friday, speaking of throwing in more reviews, Friday we had 3 reviews. We had a review for Dixit Disney, an easy one for me to cover because I've played Dixit dozens and dozens and dozens of times, and Dixit Disney I've played like 3 times now, so Dixit Disney, easy one to jump into and get a first review coverage. We have also later on Friday, and that was for Dixit is a 4 to 5 for me, and Dixit Disney doesn't change my opinion of that rating. Later we had a review for Maps of Misterra from Sit Down Games, a charming game. I enjoyed it. It's a good game, but not one that I need to hold on to. I thought it was clever in the way it gave you a little point scoring puzzle, but I'd rather play other point scoring puzzles, so I enjoy Maps of Misterra, but not one I feel the need to keep. And then lastly on Friday we had a review for Marvel United Spider-Geddon. Had a chance to dive into this several times, obviously again like Dixit, based on Marvel United. but I wanted to try out the various characters and the bosses and go through all of those. So Marvel United Spider-Geddon is actually the best core set I've seen from Marvel United. It's I generally say that Marvel United, the first core set, feels a little unsatisfying and you want to get more to enjoy the game. I think Spider-Geddon gives that additional punch to the game while having all the enhancements that Marvel United has given bit by bit. So highly recommend that one. It's my favorite, my best recommendation for a core set, and overall I'm already having a lot of fun with those more Marvel United characters. Which brings us to today. Today we have a few things happening. We're going to have a review for Fabled Lands going up, as well as a 20 strong gameplay, assuming I finished filming that one in time. But a 20 strong gameplay, so if you want to see 20 strong, if you want to get a chance to, see what the 20 strong solo play is, I'm going to be doing a gameplay of that one. It's always a balance for me, trying to lean into the games I love, so I spend more time with them, like games like Expeditions, all the Zombicide playthroughs I do, the various campaign playthroughs I do. It's always a balance trying to lean into the things I love, while trying to have as much content as possible for the tons of games that are coming out every single year. I'll do what I can. We'll figure it out. And then next week we have a bunch of things coming up. We have games leaving for the month of July. The games that are leaving just because games have to go, unfortunately. We also have 10 games that cost $15 or less that will be going up on Tuesday. Just a quick, stocking stuffers that are off season, so to speak, of 10 games that are $15 or less, including one that I have not played yet, but I'm still excited for, and I want to talk about that one. And then lastly, we should have a Lorcana, not lastly, we have a ton of things going up next week, but we also should have an interview with the designer or one of the co-designers of Lorcana going up as well, in case you want more Lorcana content. In general, Lorcana content, I had someone comment saying, hey, if your channel turns into a Lorcana channel, I'm going to stop subscribing and leave and go away. And then I had someone respond to that saying, if you don't do Lorcana content, I'm going to unsubscribe. There you go, Alex. Now you can do what you want without worrying about what impact will be in place, because either way you lose someone. Which I thought was very funny. I appreciate both of you, honestly. So this channel will not be a Lorcana channel. To be very, very clear, it's not going to be a Lorcana channel. That's because I'm not a TCG player primary at my core. To me, Lorcana might fall into the realm of being a Zombicide or a Tenaris Adventures, meaning it's the kind of system where maybe you see a bit more content from the things that I am into. But that means that maybe you'll see Lorcana videos once, maybe twice a month out of the 60 videos I do a month. Maybe. And I don't know if that will last or not, but either way, when I'm into something, you can expect to see a bit more content from that thing, because I love those things and I want to share the things that I love. And so if you're someone who appreciates, Marvel Zombicide, Marvel Zombies the way I do, well, great. There's 4 gameplays on the channel and more will be coming. There's always going to be a bit more of the content I love, but it's never going to overtake the channel. I like too many things in the space, and also you didn't sign up for that, so it is what it is. But I appreciate both of those people. Lorcana content will be a drop more present while I'm into it, but not that present. And with that, no wait, the games on the table. Games on the table. The games on the table. These are 4 of the games I hope to be diving into this week, imminently, as soon as I possibly can. We have Tesseract over here, which I've been looking forward to a long time and want to see how it plays. We have Builders of Tucana over here. Tucana Builders, I should say. A new version on Trails of Tucana coming to you from Porta Games. We have Dorf Romantic, from Pegasus Spiel, winner of the Spiel des Jahres, or one of the Spiel des Jahres. Maybe there's different awards. I think Dorf Romantic won one of them. And then we have Spellbook from Space Cowboys. I hope to be diving into all 4 of these this week if I'm able to. Already dove into a bunch of these Gen Con games, and I want to get as many of them played as fast as possible to clear out some space. In any case, until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, I hope you have a good one.